Welcome to the Connection Revolution podcast. I'm so thankful you're taking the time to be with us for this episode. We have another amazing guest with us today. His name is Matt Thomas. He's a pastor, he's a ministry guy, amazing story of God working in somebody's life. Matt, let's just dive in. Please
Okay.
take some time and share with us about your journey, life, your journey with the Lord, and bring us up to today if you can.
Man, my life has been blessed and it's been rough all at the same time. My mom did the best she could, but my mom was a real bad alcoholic when I was a kid, and and of course it was a different time. I'm 48 years old. I'm a latchkey kid, and so I was allowed to do whatever I wanted, like all throughout the day because there was nobody to really watch me. And I think because of that, coupled with, alcohol and addiction, I was let free to roam. I started getting in trouble, and it kind of grew to other things, and I inevitably broke into a school in third grade, and we set the school on fire and did some other things. And and to be honest, it was to me at the time it was cool because it was like I saw it on TV, and I, I was just broken. I was a broken child that was not loved, was not, and I know it sounds cliche, but like, there was no emotional connection to really much of anything. And so I just continued to act out more and more. And then after the abuse happened, I mean, it was off the chain. And so we lived in Nevada at the time, in Reno or Sparks, Nevada, and my mom got a letter that said, "Hey, if you don't move, your son's going to be a ward of the court." And so my mom moved to California to because that's where she grew up, and I moved out there when I was about 10, 11, and that cycle of the cycle of stuff continued. I did a line of meth for the first time when I was probably just before I turned 14, and I was addicted. I was completely addicted. There was no two ways about it. So, 14 and 15,
Mm.
man, I was getting in trouble. I stole everything in my mom's house to get drugs. I almost used her gun on a kid that was in the bathroom of our house that had a case of beer. It was a whole
Mm.
bad situation. And I was running the streets of Southern California, and it was not good. And so I dropped out of high school when I was 15. And honestly, it was real crazy. 3 days after I dropped out of high school, or even might have been the day after, my mom was planning on sending me to a home for wayward boys. It was Agape boarding school, which was actually up in Washington State at the time. And like, I drop out of high school, and like all of a sudden, my mom shows up at my friend's house with my dad, which was like just weird altogether. And and they said, "Hey, you're coming with us. Um, you're going to this school." And so I went to the school, and it was independent fundamental Baptist, very heavy on structure and rules and everything, that wasn't that was shame, and and they did a real good job of helping me memorize scripture. And I've always been pretty smart, but I was really good at memorizing things. And so you get there and it's no talking, and of course I show up and I got a mohawk, and you know what I mean, I got like I'm a little punk rock kid, and all of a sudden I turns out I do really well in structured environments. And so I stayed extra to graduate high school and to have my mom stop paying. So I stayed on and I did staff for a little bit. And as
Mm.
much as rough as it was, honestly, like, because it wasn't great. It really helped me. It helped me graduate high school for one thing, and it helped kind of lay a foundation of scripture that came to fruition later. And so I left. I tried to go to college. I failed out of college within a semester, and I just went back to drugs and partying. I spent 3 years in the Navy. I was a sonar technician on a submarine. I was stationed out of Point Loma down in San Diego. And, honestly, minus the addiction and everything else, I probably would have retired from the military and done quite well after I had cycled through some of the stuff. But this is how sneaky Satan is. I'm stationed on a sub. We live in military housing. The neighbor right across the hallway was a drug addict, and she smoked meth, and it was like, the odds of that happening was crazy. And so one day I came home, my wife was like, "Hey, you want to get high?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "You want to do some?" And I was like, and honestly, I was like, "Yeah, like that sounds great." And I started using again. Instead of just being a drug addict and selling drugs, I was selling drugs, and I was robbing people, and I was stealing things, and I was doing whatever I could to fill the void of all the brokenness that I had experienced and complex trauma and all that. What had happened is God really started talking to me in the process of that last time that I went to jail to go to prison, and I was tired. I was tired. I was exhausted. And it was like, I was thinking about my kids, and like I hadn't even seen my kids. I'd been so just strung out that I didn't really care about anything. And so I get to prison, and I start working in the kitchen and start kind of doing these things. And in the process, like, we wanted to have church, but we had a retired youth pastor for a chaplain, so we didn't really have anything. And so we planted a church. Like, we planted all, and all of us, right? Like, my whole faith-based perspective was built off of agape boarding school, which was like independent fundamental king, you know what I mean? Like, and everybody else's was pretty broken. We only had like two guys that grew up in church, but we built a church in the middle of a prison. We
Mm,
had
mm,
fasting and prayer nights and Bible study nights, and like it was beautiful. It
mm.
was it was absolutely beautiful. In 2012, Firm Foundation Ministries Incorporated became a real thing. And then we got our first house in 2013. And so really when we started, we just wanted to have housing for men that have been incarcerated and to help them be successful when they get out. And then it turned to two houses and three houses. And then 2015, I'd been speaking at different prisons. And then some friends talked to their wife to talk to my wife and said, "Hey, do you want to pastor a church?" And I was like, "No, I don't want anything to do with that." Um, and I didn't, honestly, I didn't. And I looked at church planners and I was like, "Man, these people are nuts. Like, I don't know how you." And God was like, "Oh yeah," and so, well, it turns out we planted the church.
Thank you guys so much. It's been an amazing time. I just hope a lot of people get a chance to hear this Connection Revolution podcast because of the amazing God story that we've heard today. I just hope you share it, like it, get the word out about it. And again, those of you who've been watching and listening to this podcast, we are so thankful you're with us today. And we look forward to when you're back with us next time as the Connection Revolution continues.
Connection revolution, let it change your life.